This gun is fantastic, and you should buy it. That's going to be my short answer for the Glock 30S. The long answer is pretty much the same. I'm going to try to keep the video short and simple. What's going on, everybody? This is Soy Sauce here. Today, I'm going to be telling you about my Glock 30S. Now, all these weapons have been safety checked. There are no rounds. I just have these two here for representations of different caliber, of different round options. So the 30S, as usual, like how I did with the 43, I'm going to start with the bad. The bad. When you get it from the factory, it feels like garbage in the hand. If you look into the trigger, I did a trigger undercut to alleviate some space there so I could actually get a full grip on the handgun. Before, it pushed my fingers down just enough to where my hands were riding on the ribs. It was very uncomfortable, and it just wasn't nice to hold. Another issue I was having was the pinky extension from the factory. So this is actually a Hive Technology +2 base plate. Caveat on that. Most factory Glock 30 magazines come with a 10-round capacity. However, these Hive base plates only work on the 9-round capacity Glock 30 magazines from back in the day. So if you're thinking of getting a Hive Technology base plate, make sure you have a 9-rounder, not a 10-rounder. That comes from the factory. Fantastic quality, never had a problem with them, and we continue on. So, the factory magazines. The issue I was having with them was that when I would fire, there's a little gap right there. Whenever you squeeze the trigger and the round goes bang, this little bastard loves to squeeze in and pinch your finger until you get a nice little bloody callus and you start dropping blood all over the range. Not very pleasant. So that was the first thing I did, was a trigger undercut. I did all of this myself, including the stippling. It's like an alligator type. That's what I call it, alligator skin. It looks cool. I like it. Feels nice in my hand. Very smooth, but not too aggressive and not too soft either. So that was the first problem. I decided to get the Hive magazine extensions. I don't really carry that inside the gun. That'll usually be my backup magazine, simply because it pretty much doubles the size of the grip. It essentially makes it the length of a Glock 17. For reference, here's a Glock 19. If I could lay this on top, that'd be great. With the magazine in it, it is about the size of a Glock 19. Even the slide length, the frame height, and the thickness is you're pretty much carrying a 45 caliber Glock 19. That is essentially what it is. Anyway, that was the first issue I was having. It was constantly pinching my finger, and the grip did not feel nice. So I did take a Dremel. I Dremeled down under the trigger, and I deepened the finger grooves, smoothed it out, and I got the extension for when I go to the range. And like I said, I do not carry that. I usually leave the factory magazine in it. In a self-defense situation, I'm not really caring if I'm getting a callus. This is just for comfort at the range. Now, the second issue I was having was the magazine release. The magazine release on this gun is very tight to the frame, very tight. I was constantly having issues pressing it in until eventually, same thing, I just got fed up, Dremeled it out, gave it what is it they call it, the scallop? Yeah, magazine release scallop. Very positive release. You fell over there, buddy. Third issue was the slide release, magazine release, whatever, I'm sorry, slide release, slide lock, whatever you want to call it. Very tight to the frame, a little bit difficult to engage. Sometimes I'd find myself kind of just sliding off of it, and I'd have to really like focus and push it down. So I did get this extended slide release. This is from the Glock store. And the biggest issue, it was almost a deal breaker for me, and I did consider even trading in the gun until I found out about this, was the trigger. So all these weapons have been safety checked. Don't care if you can see that. I can see it. It's safety checked. This is an Apex tactical trigger. Shoe, I should say. I did not replace the trigger bar. I did not replace any of the assembly inside. This is just the trigger shoe. Now, the way this works is if you look at this Glock 19 right here, that little silver pin You can punch that out through the other side. You will have to break the trigger shoe. That is normal. It breaks the trigger shoe. It falls off the trigger bar assembly. And then you can take the pin and the trigger shoe that you get from Apex Tactical, drive it in place, and bam, you have a completely different feel on your gun. The main issue, like I said, I don't know if I mentioned it, but let's see if I can focus in here. If you look at the trigger shoe on the Glock 19 and most Gen 3 Glocks, they have these little ribs in them. There we go. They have these little ribs that just, after a while, just start eating into your finger. Now, on the Glock 19, it never really bothered me because it doesn't have the recoil sensation of this gun. It's very light compared to this gun. After a while, it basically kind of starts feeling like sandpaper with this gun, the factory trigger shoe. So I ordered the Apex Tactical trigger shoe, put it in, and honestly, it's been absolutely phenomenal since I ordered it. It still pulls at around 5.5, but it feels like it's lighter. Let me see. The reset is what's really impressive on this gun. Bam. So let me see if I can set it up right here so you guys can see the reset. The reset, for some reason, is just ridiculous on this trigger. Fantastic trigger, really worth the money. Yeah, those were a couple of the issues I was having. Oh, also, what I thought was a defect. If you look at the back of the slide, it looks like it's not flush with the frame at all. It sticks out, and in the front, same thing. It's slightly rides back. I thought that was a factory defect and that I would have issues like the barrel not being fully seated, but if you look here, it is completely seated. I've had no problems. I've been firing round after round after round with this gun, not a single problem. I tried looking online. Apparently it's happened to a few people, and it's normal, I guess. I will be contacting Glock in a few days just to double verify that, but as of right now, I have had no problems with it. Now we can get into the good. So the good. You're not going to find another 45 caliber compact handgun this small, this light, and this comfortable. Springfield has a close option to it, but it just doesn't beat this gun, for me anyways. It feels, this gun in my holster, in my hip, it just feels fantastic. It's not too heavy. It feels like you're carrying a Glock 19. That is the best way I can describe it to you. You're carrying a Glock 19 in 45. 10 rounds of 45, that is fantastic. And you can really use this gun for anything. Like, you want a woods gun, you got it. Just make sure you take the right loads. Like, if you're going to go up into, like, bear country or something like that, make sure you're taking, like, Underwood extreme penetrators or something like that. Me, personally, these are usually the two loads I carry. Hornady Critical Defense with the bonded jacket. I think these are bonded jacket. With the little... what is it? The little polymer tip in the center. Gives you a little bit more penetration, I believe. And the Hornady Custom 200 grainers. These things are awesome. I love these things. Fantastic performance, fantastic consistency, just never a problem. Not to say that I've had problems with these. These are both fantastic cartridges, but to each his own. There's 1,000 different bullets out there that you can use. And lastly, it really is just a fantastic gun to shoot. Now, I did say it has a little bit more recoil impulse, but for a gun this size and 45, that is to be expected. But overall, it's not hard to shoot at all. I honestly like shooting this more than my 43. My 43 gets a little bit more recoil sensation because of how tiny it is than my Glock 30. It's just, to date, this is probably my favorite pistol overall. I am going to change the sights with time. I'm just debating on whether I want to go with fiber optics or with night sights. And this is a Gen 3, so the finish doesn't really hold up as well. A lot of people say that it does. I don't see that. I've seen the finish come off of so many Glock 3 Gen 3s so easily that it's just... I don't understand why people think that it's a good quality finish. It's really not. It comes off really easily. The Gen 5 finishes are absolutely fantastic. Those I've seen, they're very durable. But these Gen 3s, after a while, this is just from holster wear. eventually they just start coming off. So I'll probably send this off to get Cerakoted or something like that, or nitrided. Give it a little bit more durability. That way it doesn't get full of scratches. But overall, fantastic gun, worth the money. It is now 2018, and as far as whether or not Glock is making Gen 5 30S or 30s, I don't know how they want to brand them, but I'm not sure if they're gonna be making the Gen 5s. It'd be nice if they did. I would probably buy one, simply because I would love to have a Glock 30 without the finger grooves. I'm kind of like take them or leave them with the finger grooves. It just depends on the gun. So on the more compact Glocks, I don't like the finger grooves. On the full-sized or Glock 19s, I do like the finger grooves because my fingers just rest in them perfectly. I have no problems with it. Actually, right here, you can see a perfect example of what I'm talking about with the Gen 3s. Their mag release is so tight to the frame. So tight. That is very annoying. Actually, I really just don't want to do anything to this Glock 19, however, because this was my first pistol, and I've kept it factory forever, and I think I'm going to leave it that way. The only thing I did was the little white indentation paint, whatever the hell you want to call it. I thought it was cool when I first got it, whatever. But overall, fantastic gun, great quality, great work lock. Just like I said, the few caveats with that. Make sure it fits in your hand. Make sure you're comfortable with it. And it's a Glock 19 and 45. Just think of it that way. And I hope you guys have a good one.